Hey guys, it's Roscoe, and on the Space Couch today we're going to be discussing this Persepolis Rising by James S.A. Book 7 of the Expanse, and the first book of the final trilogy is going to end after the 9th volume. So, it's 30 years after the events of the previous book. The solar system is essentially all settled down. Earth is coming back from all the devastation from the asteroid strikes. And the Transport Union is running all the trade between the colonies, between the gates and the solar system. The Laconians, who were the Martian fleet that defected during the war and hightailed it out of there when the Free Belters were trying to take over, they emerged from their 30-year isolation, having mastered the art of the protomolecule and using it for their ships. Now think Babylon 5, the shadow vessels. Recall in, I think it was season 4, towards the end of the Earth Civil War, the Earth Alliance destroyers that were mated with the shadow technology. It's kind of like that, Martian-style ships, but with protomolecule. Anyway, they can't be stopped. They overrun Medina Station, where Holden and the crew are, because him and Naomi want to retire to Titan and just watch the rain through the glass domes. So they're transferring the ship's rights over to Bobbie, keeping the same crew, when it all goes down, and basically Bobbie's captain, but she's not captain. So they're basically starting to form a new underground against the Laconian occupiers, who are also trying to take over the entire human race, basically. The Earth system, all of the colonies through the gates by controlling the gate station. And it's mostly set on Medina Station. It's quite self-contained about them setting up all of the resistance cells. There's 4 Viewpoint characters this time. Bobbie and Holden, who we know very well. Then Drummer, who is the head of the Transport Union, which essentially is the thing that keeps all of the colonies together. And then Singh, who is the guy from Laconia, who's in charge of the occupation on Medina. It's, as much as it's quite self-contained, there's some fascinating human moments in it, because the Laconians, they're not just evil. I mean, yes, they're planning on another 1,000-year Reich, and you can imagine what will happen to that in the end. But the people in charge, they're very individual, and they're human, you know. The guy, Singh, he's married, he's got a small daughter that he calls Monster because she's a nightmare, because she's very, very young. And it's things like that, you know, like Bobbie and all of them realising they're getting older, the ship is getting older, the Rossi, that is. And there's basically, how do they react to the occupation? As you would expect, by trying to find a way to fight it. Now, Avasarala's in it also, although she's not a main character this time. She is quite old now. She's in a wheelchair with white hair, as foul-mouthed as ever. She pops up with the politicians of, say, the Transport Union when it becomes clear that the Laconians are serious and can probably complete their invasion and can't be stopped because of the level of technology that they have. They fire some of their special weapons a couple of times. One of the times is out by the gate stations, and essentially it creates a huge gamma ray burst. Much more energy is created than was expended in firing of the shot. And there's another time when they fire, every single person in the solar system blacks out and hallucinates for several minutes. Everyone from Earth all the way up to the Kuiper Belt. Can't remember if it's also all the colony worlds as well, I'm not sure. But basically, this is very, very bad. Because the Laconians didn't know that was going to happen. They think it's an Earth-Mars type of weapon that is being deployed, but it hasn't been. But the very troubling thing that will come into play in later books, the 2 later books, is when they do that firing that caused all the blackouts, on the Laconian ship that is essentially occupying the entire solar system, the magic bullet appears on board. And it's essentially like a glowing light. Remember in the book that was set on Illis, when Miller and Holden are going through all of the remains of the civilization to try and find out what killed the protomolecule builders. And they came to a spot that Miller couldn't see. It was like a void, a blank spot. There was nothing there that he could see. But Holden could see it. And this is the same thing. It has reappeared. It didn't do anything that they know of, other than probably all of those effects. and they can't seem to do anything to affect it. They like pass their hands through it. It's just like a ball of light. Nothing happens to it. But it's very, very worrying. But anyway, because of all of the terrorist attacks that the Holden crew and the remains of the OPA are doing on Medina Station, eventually, of course, Holden gets captured when they're trying to do one of their schemes, and he ends up being taken back to Laconia. And he is interrogated by the High Consul Duarte, I forget which it is now, personally, who, as I mentioned in the first look, wants to become immortal and is injecting himself with types of the protomolecule that have been matured, shall we say. That's not going to end well. He thinks the only way that an empire can survive long term is for one man to be in charge of it the whole time. Hence, he must be immortal. Only he can save the human race. Yes, I know. That's not going to work out well for him in the long, or even the short to medium term. But it does end with essentially all of humanity part of the Laconian Empire. We don't know where that's going to go. I can't imagine it's going to be anything good, of course, because now the protomolecule, not the protomolecule, but the magic bullet has reappeared. Things are going to go downhill very fast, I think, because as much as the protomolecule is like generations and orders of magnitude ahead of anything that humanity has at that point, the magic bullet is orders of magnitude beyond the protomolecule, which is probably why it was able to kill all of the civilization that was built on the protomolecule. But yes, it does end with Duarte, because Holden tells him about what happened on Illis with seeing the magic bullet and all of that. And he says, well, basically, if you're going to conquer gods, you must become gods yourself. And it reminded me of one of the old Babylon 5 movies, Third Space, storming the very gates of heaven itself. That's basically what the Laconians want to do with this technology. They're not going to have luck, I think, with that magic bullet. It is going to come for everyone. And how that gets resolved is probably going to be what forms the basis of the next two books. But yes, Persepolis Rising, absolutely excellent. I do understand the title more now that I've read it. As we mentioned previously, there always seems to be references to our own history, either ancient or more recent. And yes, this is not going to go well for humanity. I suspect there's going to be billions more die. It could even be everyone dies at the end, who knows. But yes, that's just my review of Persepolis Rising, Book 7 of The Expanse. It was absolutely fantastic. Even though it wasn't a smaller scale than some of the other books have been, it was none the worse for that. And I thoroughly recommend it to you. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content. Leave me a comment suggestion for a comic topic you'd like to see discussed, or like the video.